It happened in 1 second. One splash, one cruel laugh, and Esther's world changed forever. The sun had barely risen over Xanadu City. The streets were still waking up, and the air smelled like dust and new hope. Esther held her nylon bag close, the one with her bread, akara, and flask of hot tea. Her cleaning uniform was ironed and neat, her hair tied in a plain scarf. She walked quickly, her eyes on the ground, her mind on her little sister's school fees. Life wasn't easy, but Esther had learned how to smile through it. She crossed the narrow side road near Crownville Towers. That place, the grand hotel filled with gold lights, foreign guests, and perfume-filled hallways, was where she worked as a cleaner. Every day she polished marble floors she would never afford, cleaned toilets she'd never use, and nodded at people who never looked back. That was when it happened. A loud engine roared. A white SUV shot through a puddle left by last night's rain. The muddy water flew up like an angry wave. Flash! It hit Esther full in the face. Her bag fell. Her tea spilled. Her uniform, her only clean one, was soaked in brown, sticky mud. She stood still, blinking. Cold. Shocked. Shivering. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Then the tinted window of the SUV rolled down just enough. A woman with red lipstick and large sunglasses leaned out. She was laughing. "Watch where you stand next time, Bush girl." Then she sped off. Her name was Deborah, the famous fashion influencer. Everyone in the city knew her. She had 2 million followers. She modeled perfumes, flew to Paris for brunch, and called herself Queen D. Esther had never met her before, but now she would never forget her. Across the street, a quiet man stood beside a black car. He wore a gray suit. He didn't laugh. He didn't speak. But his eyes followed Esther closely. His name was David. No one noticed him, but he noticed everything. Esther cleaned the mud off herself with the water from a nearby gutter. She picked up her flask and bread, ruined. She wiped her eyes and continued to work. No tears. No shouting. Just silence. She reached Crownville Towers 10 minutes late, and her supervisor shouted at her. Till she cleaned the golden floors. Till she scrubbed the toilet bowls. Till she smiled at the guests who never smiled back. But something strange began to happen. Later that day, someone left a small blue gift box in her locker. Inside was a pair of soft white slippers and a note that said, "You are seen. You are valued. Keep walking." No name. No signature. Just kindness. The next week, Esther was moved from the general floor to the VIP floor. She didn't apply. She didn't ask. The manager said, "Someone recommended you." But when she asked who, he simply waved it away. It came from above. Esther didn't understand. But she worked harder. She began learning how to speak English better, how to serve international guests, how to set tables with gold-rimmed plates. The money was slightly better. Enough to buy her sister a new school bag. She never saw David. Or so she thought. But David saw her every day. David owned Crownville Towers. But he never told anyone. He preferred to sit at the back, watch, and listen. His face was quiet. His heart quieter. Most people feared him. He had power, money, silence, and loneliness. But when he saw Esther, something moved in him. It was the way she kept walking after being insulted. The way she wiped mud off her face without cursing the world. The way her dignity shined, even when covered in dirt. He began sending her help in secret, new books for school, a cleaner's tool set, extra uniform, even a meal voucher hidden inside her locker. She never knew who did it. She only whispered to herself, "Maybe God is watching." But not everyone was happy with Esther's rise. Especially not Deborah. Deborah found out that the mud girl worked at Crownville Towers. When she saw Esther on the VIP floor, dressed neatly and walking with quiet confidence, her heart tightened. "Why is she still here?" she hissed. Her followers adored her beauty, but her heart was bitter. She was used to the world bowing to her. Now a cleaner was shining, and no one could explain why. Deborah saw the looks David gave Esther sometimes when he passed quietly, and it made her furious. She started whispering to other workers, "That girl's faking it. She's sleeping with someone upstairs. She's pretending to be holy, but she's a climber." One day, Deborah posted a video online. It showed Esther cleaning a bathroom while someone mocked her from behind the door. The voice sounded like Deborah's, but it was edited to sound distorted. The video went viral. #BathroomBeggar. People laughed. But others didn't. Some commented, "Why mock someone working hard? She still has more grace than the one recording. Esther is strong. She's real." David watched the video, eyes burning. That night, he called his lawyer. A few days later, the video was removed from all platforms. Esther was called into the manager's office. She thought she was in trouble, but instead she was told, "You've been selected for the hotel's scholarship program. Full tuition, books, transport. You're going back to school, Esther." She was speechless. Who picked me?" The manager smiled. "Your record speaks for itself." She walked home slowly that night, her heart full, her mind spinning. She looked up at the sky. It looked cleaner than usual. She whispered, "Thank you, whoever you are." Back in his quiet office, David watched her file again. Sarita, age 22, cleaner, guardian to her 11-year-old sister, father gone, mother ill, lives in Ajala Block 7. No complaints, no lateness, no noise. She was exactly the kind of soul he wanted near him. Not for romance, not yet, but for hope. David had been betrayed before. His last relationship ended with lies and court battles. Since then, he never let his heart lead. But Esther's strength called to something deeper in him. He began walking past her on purpose, saying soft good mornings, watching how she always greeted people first, even those who ignored her. She didn't know she was being watched, but she walked like someone who belonged. Slowly, she was rising. Not with force, but with quiet fire. One morning, Esther found a letter in her locker. Thick envelope. Gold writing. "You are invited to Crownville's mid-year staff gala. Dress code, elegant. You may bring one guest." Esther blinked. She had never been to a gala. She didn't even own a gown. When she got home, she told her sister. "Should I go?" Her sister hugged her. You must go. You belong there." Esther didn't know it yet, but Deborah would also be there. And she had plans. Esther stood in front of the mirror, holding her breath. She had never worn anything like this before. The deep blue gown sparkled under the light bulb in her small room. It hugged her waist gently and floated down like river water. Her little sister had helped her fix her hair, soft curls that framed her quiet face. They'd borrowed a pair of gold earrings from a neighbor, and Esther's only pair of nice shoes had been polished until they looked new. She looked like a princess. But inside, she was still the girl who cleaned bathrooms and carried wet slippers in her bag. "Don't be afraid, her sister whispered. "Tonight is your night." Esther smiled softly, picked up her purse, and headed to Crownville Towers. The gala had already begun when she arrived. Lights danced across the marble floor. Music floated in the air like perfume. Staff members and top managers walked around in suits and silk gowns, laughing and sipping drinks from long glasses. Esther stood by the wall, unsure of where to go. Then she saw David. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wore a simple black kaftan, the fabric soft and rich. He stood tall, talking quietly to a group of important-looking men. But when he saw her, he stopped and smiled. He walked over slowly, each step quiet, calm, careful. When he reached her, he gave a small bow. "You came," he said. Esther nodded, her voice caught in her throat. "Thank you, sir." "No need for sir tonight. Just David." She lowered her eyes. "Thank you, David." From across the hall, Deborah watched everything. Her gown was loud, red, shining, full of diamonds. She stood with other influencers and whispered cruel things behind her hand. But her eyes never left Esther. She could feel it, something was changing. David was paying attention. Esther had stolen the room with her calm beauty and soft strength. Everyone who greeted her did it with quiet respect. Deborah couldn't stand it. Later that evening, Esther stepped outside for some air. She stood on the balcony, looking down at the streets of Xanadu below. That's when Deborah joined her. "Nice dress," she said, sipping her wine. Esther turned. "Thank you. You know, not everyone who wears silk is royalty," Deborah said sweetly, but her eyes were cold. Esther didn't reply. Deborah took a step closer. "Do you really think a few gifts and a scholarship will change who you are? You're still the mud girl. You'll always be the mud girl." Esther met her gaze. Her voice was calm. "Better to be the mud girl who rises than the queen who falls." For a moment there was silence. Then Deborah turned and stormed off. Behind the curtains, David had seen it all. Deborah was angry, furious, desperate. She called a man named Felix, a shady journalist who worked for attention. "I want a story," she said. "Something that'll finish her." "What kind of story?" he asked. "Something ugly. Fake but strong. I want people to believe she slept her way up." Felix laughed. "I can do that. But it'll cost you. Money's not the problem. Just do it fast." By the next morning, an article had spread across social media. "Cleaner to Queen, Esther's secret bedroom path to power?" Showed blurred images, fake chats, and twisted rumors. The headline was loud, cruel, and dangerous. People started whispering. Guests looked at Esther differently. Some staff avoided her. Esther cried that night in the storage room. Her hands shook. She couldn't breathe. "Why is this happening to me?" David sat in his office, staring at his screen. His fingers clenched into fists. His heart beat hard. He called his tech team. "I want the article traced. Now." In 3 hours, the source was found. It was linked to a dummy account created by someone close to Deborah. David didn't shout. He didn't explode. He simply pressed a button on his desk. The next morning, Crownville Towers posted an official statement. "We stand behind Esther, our dedicated, honest, and hardworking staff member. The false article spread online is under investigation. Legal action is underway." Deborah's face was everywhere. People online were angry. Her followers dropped by the thousands. Sponsors pulled out. Her fashion label paused all sales. Her father, a rich politician, called her in shame. "You've embarrassed the family." But Esther still came to work the next day, head held high. She walked like someone who had nothing to hide. The hotel staff clapped when she entered. Some hugged her. Others apologized for believing the lies. David found her later that evening by the staff lounge. "Are you okay?" he asked. Esther nodded, though her eyes were tired. "Yes. I just want to work." He paused. "You don't belong just here, Esther. You belong everywhere. You belong in places that were never built for girls like you, but that's why you must enter them." He handed her a file. Inside was a form, university admission papers. She stared at it. "I can't afford." "You won't pay," he said. "Let me help." "But why?" David smiled. "Because you keep walking, even through mud. And the world needs people like you." Esther's eyes filled with tears. She didn't hug him. but her hands shook as she held the papers. Months passed. Esther worked in the morning and attended evening classes. She studied with fierce joy, sitting in the front row, always raising her hand. She studied business and communication. She even joined a student radio show that talked about kindness in society. Crownville Towers became more than just a hotel. Became a symbol. People from across Nigeria came asking, "Is this where Esther works?" She was featured in a small magazine article titled, "Grace in Silence, the Esther Story." The world began to notice. But not everyone was happy. A few of Esther's fellow staff became cold again. "She thinks she's better than us now. University girl is forgetting her roots." Even guests tried to test her. One wealthy man touched her hand and whispered, "How much for a night, Madam Cleaner?" She slapped his hand and walked away. But every night, David checked in quietly. Sometimes he left small sticky notes in her locker. "Proud of you. Keep rising. Your light disturbs the dark." They were always unsigned. But she knew it was him. She began to feel something she hadn't felt in years: hope. One morning, a university student posted a video on TikTok. It was Esther reading a poem during a school event. "I walked through mud, and the world turned its face. But I kept walking, and the mud became grace." The video blew up. People reshared it. Blogs reposted her photo. Brands began calling the hotel asking for interviews. A senator's wife invited her to speak at a charity event. Esther said no. She still worked as a cleaner, still swept the halls, still cared for her sister. She wanted to finish what she started. David, watching from behind the scenes, was proud but afraid. He was hiding something. It was raining again. Not heavy rain, just soft, steady drops like the sky was whispering. Esther stood by the same roadside where the mud had once hit her. But this time she wasn't in her uniform. She wore a simple gray coat, a black scarf, and held a cup of warm tea. The city had changed. Or maybe she had. It had been 1 year since that splash, 1 year since her story began. A lot had happened. Some beautiful, some confusing. And one thing she didn't see coming. David. He wasn't just a friend anymore. He wasn't just the man behind the curtain. They had grown close. Quiet walks, sharing books, silences that felt full. A few glances had turned into real feelings. But even love, especially love, can carry secrets. It was a normal afternoon. Esther was in the Crownville library. She was helping organize donated books for the hotel's new staff learning program. While moving some old files from David's shelf, a small black notebook slipped and fell open. She reached to close it, but stopped. There was her name. In his handwriting. She froze. The page read, "Esther." I saw her long before she knew. The day she was splashed with mud. I followed her path. Arranged her promotion. Planted the gift notes. Gave the scholarship. I watched her rise and fall and rise again. It's beautiful to create something quietly. She stepped back like the book had burned her. Everything she thought was natural, her promotion, her scholarship, her rise, had been carefully guided. Not earned. Given. A part of her shattered. That evening, David came to find her. She was in the staff garden, sitting under the small tree where they usually had lunch. "You're quiet," he said. She didn't look at him. "I found your book." His face changed. "You weren't meant to." "Meant to," she snapped softly. "David, did you ever believe in me? Or was I just a project to you?" He sat down slowly. "Esther, you misunderstood. I believed in you before you did. I only opened the door. You walked through it." She shook her head. "But I thought I earned it. I thought people saw me. Not the girl you were building behind the scenes." His voice cracked. I never controlled you. I loved watching you grow. You made every choice. I just helped water the seed. But you never told me. Silence sat between them. She stood. You say you watched me walk through mud. But now I wonder, were you the one who left the puddle there in the first place? She left him sitting there, under the tree that used to feel safe. Esther didn't come to work the next day. Or the day after. Her locker was empty. Her name was no longer on the university board. Even her sister told the neighbor, we're moving. No one knew where. David sent a message, please talk to me. Let me explain. She never replied. He waited. 4 days. For weeks. But the girl who once walked through mud had vanished, like morning mist. A year passed. Crownville Towers held its annual staff gala again. The same gold lights. The same sweet music. The same marble floors. David stood at the edge of the crowd, alone. Then a guest walked in. Simple gray dress. Low heels. Soft curls tucked under a scarf. It was Esther. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She walked straight to the garden. He followed. They stood facing each other in the dark. I just came to see it all one more time, she said. I missed you, David replied. She nodded. I missed myself too. He stepped closer. Do you hate me? No, she whispered. But I don't trust you. He swallowed hard. Is that the end of us? She looked at him. There never was an us, David. There was just me and your plan. She turned and walked away. He didn't follow. Esther stood again by the same road where it all began. This time no mud hit her. This time people stopped to greet her. But she walked quietly, head high, heart heavy. She was not angry. She was not broken. But she had learned that even kindness can wear a mask. And sometimes the softest hands can shape you without asking. The world called her an inspiration. But Esther called herself one thing. The girl who walked through mud and never looked back. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again, but if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories.